This loser who couldn't even get a single girlfriend in school suddenly learns on his birthday that all his 5 beautiful sisters are not his real sisters, and then everything changes, as now each of the sisters starts developing romantic feelings towards him but cannot express directly. The story begins with the introduction of the Shiunji family, which is extremely wealthy and also had a mansion where many servants helped them with their daily needs. All 7 beautiful siblings of the Shiunji family lived together in this mansion. Then we see Arata, who is 16 years old and the eldest heir of the family. He was having breakfast with his 15-year-old brother. Arata was too stressed about not having a girlfriend as he was the heir of the Shiunji family, so he decided to ask his brother how he got a girlfriend. To that, Shion just replies that it just happened. Arata, however, keeps pressing for more details. Shion says, "I know you're the eldest brother, but that doesn't mean you have to put so much pressure on yourself. And what about the girl you liked?" Arata replies that he's taking small steps. Shion then tells him that he is the eldest son of the Shinji family, he can make any girl his girlfriend, but Arata didn't trust his luck that much. Just then, all 5 sisters enter the scene and start asking about what the 2 of them were talking. The first sister is Uka, the second is Seiha, third is Minami, fourth is Kotono, and the eldest of them all is Banri. Uka and Seiha quickly guessed what Arata was talking about and even started teasing him. To add fuel to the fire, Shion suddenly tell them that Arata was praising Uka's figure. Hearing this, of course, Uka gets furious and sends her dog to bite Arata. On one side, Arata's suffering doesn't end, and on the other, his sisters were making fun of him. Even when he tries to explain, no one listens. During this, we also learn about an incident called roommate incident, which was quite shocking for everyone. They then start discussing how even having dirty thoughts about one's sisters is completely unacceptable. But the eldest sister Banri pokes at all of their weaknesses and silences them all. Then Minami says that their big brother is actually a really good person, which makes Arata really happy, and he suddenly goes to hug her but Minami knocks him out with a single punch. We also learn that Minami was going to be an Olympic athlete in the future and she was taking physical classes, so she punched him on instinct. Uka asks if everyone is free on Saturday because they plan to go out to celebrate Kotono's birthday. Shion tell them that he's busy since he has a date, but no one even asks for Arata's opinion. Next, we see the train station following day, where all eyes were on the 5 sisters, as seeing them all together was like witnessing a miracle. On top of that, each of them had their own fan clubs. Meanwhile, Shion was also quite popular among the girls, but it was just opposite for Arata as he was famous among the boys for his muscles. Then scene changes to school restroom, where Shion and Arata were talking. Everyone usually sees them with the girls, but no one knew how much they had to suffer daily. At home, even if they get beaten up by the sisters, they can't fight back, and their parents always side with the girls, which is why both brothers have been bullied a lot since childhood. We then get more details about their sisters. The eldest, Banri, is a freshman at a prestigious university and is training to become a nurse. The next sister, Seiha, is the president of the science club and holds the first rank in the entire school. She's super cool and talented, which is why she has a lot of fans. Next is Uka, who outshines everyone both academically and athletically. She's a star of the swimming and tracking clubs and is also expected to become the next student council president, which makes her very popular. Fourth is Minami, a prodigy who has won the junior high tennis championship 3 times in a row and is set to become an Olympic athlete, making her very famous. Lastly, the 5th sister is Kotono, since she is very cute and introverted, but she's also extremely popular. Then Shion starts revealing how Kotono had once even confessed her love to Arata, and Arata became completely nervous and says, that was just something between siblings. Right after that, we're shown the girl that Arata actually likes. The scene then shifts to their home, where Arata was wondering whether he should send a friend request to Lala, but then he cancels the plan, thinking, what if she rejects me? Just then, Uka enters his room to borrow Arata's notes. When she sees his notes, she was surprised because everything was written so neatly. At that moment, Arata's eyes points to a very wrong place, and he tells Uka, you should wear clothes that cover you up a little more. Uka replies, this is my house. And anyway, we've been bathing together since we were kids, so what exactly haven't you seen? Arata was left speechless after this reply. Then, Uka suddenly asks, so, who's the girl you like? I know it's Lala, right? Hearing this, Arata becomes furious, assuming Shion must have told her. Uka then tries to send Lala a friend request to help Arata, but he stops her from doing so, due to which Uka gets angry and storms off after scolding Arata harshly. Meanwhile, we see Kotono, who was staring at Arata in a family photo. The scene shifts to the next day after school. Arata was lost in thoughts. wondering, what if I hadn't been born into the Shiunji family? Or what if I didn't had 5 sisters? Would my future have been different? Suddenly, he sees Lala in front of him, that too with another guy. Then we're shown a scene at their home. Arata steps out of his room because it was his sister's birthday party. He sees Uka, who was dressed very nicely. She says, "Dad always says if you're not properly dressed, you won't get anything." Then she compliments Arata too. Everyone gathers at the dining table. Arata was still lost in thought about things like his future, marriage, and kids. Then a fight breaks out between Minami and Uka because Minami misplaced Uka's earbuds. Everyone starts worrying and tries to calm them down. But suddenly Arata yells loudly and tells them to stop saying, "We are siblings." Hearing this, both girls get embarrassed, and everyone becomes cheerful again. Just then, their father enters and he was very happy to see all of them together. As they're about to start eating, he says, "Before we eat, I have something very important to tell you. I decided a long time ago to reveal this on Kotono's 15th birthday." He continues, "Let me say this again, I truly love all of you. But the truth is, you are not real siblings." After hearing this, silence fills the room. Everyone is shocked. Then their father casually adds, "You're all adopted. Only Minami and Cheyenne are twins and blood-related. The rest of you are not. I made this decision after discussing it with your mother. From now on, I will never lie to you again." He tells them to continue the birthday celebration, but all of them were still deeply shocked. After dinner, we see the siblings gathered together. Minami doesn't seem too affected and was acting normal, like always. Then they begin talking about how, even if they're not blood-related, after spending so much time together, they truly feel like real siblings. They also agree that they can't blame their father, but he could have picked a better time to reveal the truth. Seiha then asks Banri, "Do you remember anything? Kotono came home when you were 5 years old." Banri tells her that she doesn't remember much of her childhood memories, but her reaction suggests that she does remember something, she just doesn't want to tell anyone. After that, they all start joking around about the topic. Banri says, "Even if we're not related by blood, after being together so long, we're no less than real siblings." Everyone then returns to their rooms. Arata was still trying to process everything and can't believe so much has happened in a single day. As he heads to the bath, he accidentally comes across his sister's garments and feels a bit awkward. Ignoring them, he enters the bath and there, he sees Kotono. As soon as they see each other, both Arata and Kotono get very nervous, and Arata immediately runs outside. He says, "Are you some kind of ninja? At least make some noise." Arata was about to leave when Kotono suddenly stops him and says she wants help. Then we see that Arata starts helping her bathe and says, "You're in 3rd year now and still need help with bathing? If your classmates find out, they'll laugh at you." He then starts giving her instructions on how to bathe properly. But suddenly Kotono says, "I really like your strength." Arata doesn't react much and tells her not to stay inside for too long and begins to leave. On the other side, we see Uka and Cheyenne talking about how today felt nothing short of an adventure. They also feel bad for Kotono since she had to hear such a big revelation on her birthday. Since she's the youngest, they feel it's their responsibility to support her. Meanwhile, the scene changes to bathroom and we see Kotono hugging Arata from behind, which scares Arata badly. On the other side, when Uka hears about sibling marriage, she was disgusted, calling it gross. Cheyenne clarifies that he was just giving an example, and sibling marriages aren't even legal anyway. Then Cheyenne starts talking a lot of nonsense, which gives Uka the chills. She tells him that Arata was giving her weird looks, and even commented on her clothes. Cheyenne was a bit shocked after hearing this, but then Uka asks what happened between Arata and Kotono in the gaming room, since she saw that Arata was pinning Kotono down. Cheyenne says he knows the whole story, but it's a secret and Arata told him not to tell anyone. Uka makes up a story that maybe Arata's lust overflowed and he started making moves on his sister, but she's sure there's more to the story. Cheyenne doesn't respond at first, but eventually tells her everything, that Kotono confessed her love to Arata and forcibly held him down. Uka was completely shocked by this and starts shouting. Cheyenne calms her down and tells her that Arata obviously rejected Kotono. Uka finds it hard to believe, since she never thought Kotono would have feelings for Arata. Cheyenne explains that kids at that age often mistake respect for love. Uka snaps and tells him that, "You're just 1 year older than her, stop talking nonsense." Cheyenne had nothing to say to that, but the real problem was now that Kotono knows they aren't real siblings. Who knows what she'll do? Then we see Kotono confessing her love again to Arata, but he tries to reject her. Kotono asks him, "Why? Am I a bad girl?" She tells him that she even researched that step-siblings can legally marry. Arata tells her, "That's not the issue. You're a wonderful girl." But during puberty, kids often mistake respect for love. Even though we aren't blood related, I'm still your big brother, and it's my responsibility to protect you. He says this and walks away. Kotono was left thinking, I wish someone would tell me how long this puberty is supposed to last. Just then, we see that someone else who overheard their conversation outside the bathroom. The scene changes and we see their father, who was standing in front of their late mother's photo, saying he has fulfilled his promise. But just then Banri shows up. On the other side, when Arata returns to his room, he finds Seiha there. He asks, what are you doing here? Seiha instead asks him, where did you go? Arata gets nervous and tell her that he was just out walking, but Seiha doesn't believe him. Arata then asks her, but what are you doing in my room? That's more important right now. But Seiha doesn't answer and moves close to him, pushes him down, and climbs on top of him. After seeing all this, Arata completely freaks out. He starts shouting, what on earth are you doing? Seiha says, this is going to be our top secret, and then she suddenly clings tightly to Arata. Arata starts thinking, after Kotono, now her? Why is she going crazy too? But then Seiha reveals the truth. She had seen both Arata and Kotono in the bathroom and was currently just testing Arata to make sure he wouldn't do anything inappropriate with Kotono. Hearing this, Arata totally panics and asks how much she saw. Seiha tells him that she saw everything. She even starts repeating things Arata had said. Arata realizes that she just wanted to protect her sister, but still thinks there must have been a better way to do this. Seiha then explains, do you know that sibling marriage is illegal in our country? One of the primary reasons is social customs, and biologically too, there's a higher chance that children born from close relatives may be weak, which is why marriage among close relatives is prohibited. Now that their dad told them they're not real siblings, they have to see how long Kotono will accept this just in words. From a physical perspective, it's technically possible because they're not blood related. Hearing all this, Arata was completely shocked, but then Seiha adds, at least one thing's clear, you're normal, and walks away. After all that, Arata starts thinking about everything that just happened. So much had occurred in just one day. For 16 years, they'd all lived as siblings, and suddenly they find out they're not blood related. Then scene shifts to the next morning. Arata gets ready for school, but he sees that Banri has made Kotono wear her nursing home uniform, and she starts teasing Arata too. Arata gets angry hearing that, and Banri even starts crying a little. After some teasing and messing around, they all leave for school. At school, Arata and Cheyenne talk about how much happened yesterday, and yet their sisters are acting totally normal like nothing even happened. Meanwhile, everyone else was just as happy to see them as usual. Cheyenne says that no one has any idea they're not real siblings, and who knows how people would react if they found out. Then we see scenes from school, where the day goes by normally for all the siblings. After school, Arata was about to leave, but he was still stuck thinking about everything and can't get it out of his head. At that moment, Minami shows up. Arata notices how cheerful she is as always, like nothing happened yesterday. Then they leave together, and Arata compliments Minami. She says she's just following her passion and also compliments Arata for being good at sports. Arata denies it, but just then, 3 of Minami's fangirls show up. They shower her with compliments and even ask for her autograph. After they leave, since they had nothing else to do, Arata suggests, instead of going home, why don't we go to karaoke? Minami gets a bit nervous at first but then confesses the real reason she's off from club activities is because she failed the aptitude test. After listening this, he tells her that, I'm going to tutor you. Then we see them at karaoke, where Arata was teaching Minami. Minami says she's understanding everything, but when Arata tests her, she can't answer a single question. That's when Minami suddenly starts singing a song. The lyrics were really funny because she was singing about how she never wants to study and only wants to play tennis. Hearing her song, Arata starts laughing too and begins to enjoy himself. He thinks about how cheerful Minami is no matter the situation, so there's no need to worry about her. After they leave, Arata spots the girl he likes and hides immediately. Minami notices this. After she walks away, Arata tells her that she should focus more on her studies, but Minami says, you know how unexpected yesterday was. Arata then asks for her opinion, and Minami says she's curious about who her real parents are. She also says she's worried about her little sister. And on top of that, you're not even my real older brother anymore, which means, I could even start calling you senpai now. Hearing that, Arata was surprised. Then Minami says, even if the girl you like already has a boyfriend, you shouldn't be discouraged. Arata asks, how do you know about that? Minami says, I heard it from Uka, which drives Arata crazy. After that, Minami compliments Arata a little, but Arata tells her that once they get home, she still has to study, something that's a nightmare for Minami. Next day we see Arata, who runs into Kotono early in the morning. But apart from saying, "Good morning," there's not much of a conversation between them. Arata starts thinking about how since that incident, they've only met a few times, but she's still acting the same as always. Did she get upset? But just then, Seiha shows up and scolds Arata for daydreaming. Arata was surprised to see her, and they begin talking about Kotono, but before they can go further, Minami shows up. She reminds Arata how she beat him several times in the game the previous day. And because she's calling him senpai. Now Seiha was also shocked and says, "Senpai is someone more mature." Then they head off to school. Next, we see Arata reaching school, and there he spots his crush, so he again quickly hides. Uka tells him, "Why don't you just confess already?" To which Arata replies, "She already has a boyfriend." Hearing this, Uka laughs and says, "You got rejected even before confessing." Then she walks away to join her classmates. On the other side, Arata starts thinking about how she was always surrounded by people, and everyone seems to really like her. But he wishes people could also see her real personality. Meanwhile, Uka's classmates begin talking about Arata, how handsome he is, how amazing his physique is, and they even start asking Uka for permission to confess to him. Hearing this, Uka becomes nervous and says, "You shouldn't do that, he's completely crazy. All he cares about is his body all day." Then next day, all the siblings go to an amusement park. Everyone was really excited as they're there to celebrate Kotono's birthday. But since Minami was hungry, Banri says, "Okay, I'll go get some food," and takes Arata with her. After getting the food, they realize that everyone else has already disappeared. Arata tries calling them one by one, but no one picks up the phone. Seeing this, Banri says, "Well, let's just go on a date, just the two of us." Arata asks, "What about the food?" Then we see Arata carry all the food by himself. While walking, Banri suddenly holds Arata's hand, and seeing this, Arata was completely shocked. During all this, things become quite awkward for Arata. And because of all this, Banri teases Arata a lot. Afterwards they start walking around normally, but Arata realizes that everyone around was staring at them because his sister was extremely beautiful and also had a lot of fans. Then they go on a roller coaster. While I can't say much about Arata, Banri really enjoys the ride. After it ends, Arata tries calling others again. On the other side, we see his siblings enjoying a show. After it ends, Cheyenne tries calling Arata, but this time, Arata doesn't pick up because he had already gone on the next ride. Eventually, they try calling again and finally get through, only to learn that the rest of the group is really far away. That basically means Arata and Banri will have to enjoy the park on their own. Arata starts guessing. I can guarantee she's going to say, "Let's treat this like a date." Then we see the evening scene, where Arata and Banri were sitting together at the food court. They talk about how they still haven't met up with their siblings, but strangely, they're not worried at all. Since Banri was already hungry, she decides to eat the leftover food. Meanwhile, Arata begins to have flashbacks. Then Arata asks Banri for her opinion about the whole, not being real siblings situation. Banri explains that even for her, it was a huge surprise and she had talked to their father about it too. She asks Arata, "Is that why you seem so down lately?" Arata thinks to himself that he can't tell her about certain incidents, so instead he says, "Yeah, it's a bit uneasy for me too, but I hope nothing changes between us." Hearing that, Banri becomes really happy and praises him. She even recalls the times when Arata used to come crying to her whenever Uka bullied him, something that doesn't make Arata very happy now that he's in high school. After that, they start having more grown-up conversations which, I guarantee, you probably wouldn't understand, but suddenly a little girl shows up and disrupts the moment. Suddenly, as juice was about to spill on Banri, Arata jumps in front of her and saves her. The girl who spilled it panics, but Arata assures her it's fine. Banri tells him, "You didn't need to do all that." But Arata replies, "I want to protect you too, because I'm your little brother." Hearing this, Banri becomes very emotional and happy too because her little brother was growing up. Finally, the whole family reunites, and everyone was shocked to see that Arata is completely soaked. After that, everyone decides they're going to explore more places. When they reach the bridge, Uka starts acting like a princess, while Minami acts like a prince. Meanwhile, Arata, Cheyenne, and Kotono head off to the bathroom. On the other side, others start having a secret conversation. Seiha tells them about the bathroom incident, which shocks everyone. But the real surprise comes when Seiha reveals that she had tested Arata and he passed because he showed no physical reaction. Hearing that, the girls get confused and ask how exactly she tested him. Once they learn the details, it shocks them even more. Uka even asks, "Didn't you have any other method?" Of course, all this overwhelming information was a huge shock for the three girls. Then they start talking about all three of them, Arata, Seiha, and Kotono, and they realize they can't really blame them because this information was dropped on them very suddenly. The main reason behind all this, of course, is that they're not blood-related. But Banri tells them not to take things too seriously because Kotono is still a child. Then she explains how she once talked to Dad about her background, and the truth is, all of them are orphans. None of them knows who their real parents are. She suggests that for now, they should just observe things. Just then, the rest of the siblings return, and they all drop the topic and suggest going to the haunted house next. On the other hand, we see Uka looking very quiet and thoughtful. Meanwhile, Arata reflects on the moment he first heard the truth. At first, he thought he had misheard something. But he's sure that even Dad must have been deeply worried before telling them all this, especially since he had hidden it for so long, which must have been difficult. Arata then says, "Don't worry, Dad. Nothing is going to change." Afterward, we see all the siblings were shopping. Arata was standing outside the shop when he suddenly spots his crush with her boyfriend. At the same moment, Uka also walks out, and Arata gets really nervous. Then they both go for a walk, where Uka says, "I need to tell you something. You know that until 3 days ago, we were twins, but now, everything has changed." Hearing this, Arata says, "Don't say that. I still see you as my twin." Uka replies, "If you keep denying the truth, you're just going to look like a fool." She continues, "Do you remember when we were little? We used to think we had telepathy because we were twins. We could read each other's thoughts. And even our rock-paper-scissors games always ended in ties. Everyone used to say, 'You two really are twins.'" But then Uka suddenly says, "I love you." Hearing this, Arata was again completely stunned. Suddenly we see a flashback where Arata was talking to Cheyenne at school. Cheyenne asks, "Do you see our sisters as ordinary girls? Now that we know they are not blood-related." And this directly means that they are close female friends. Even Kotono had now confessed her love, but Arata refuses and asks Cheyenne that this also applies to you. Cheyenne replies, "I already have a girlfriend." And since he was calling his girlfriend by her first name, Arata starts asking if something happened between them. Cheyenne says that there's always something going on between them. Then the scene returns to the present, where after confessing, Uka says, "I just wanted to say this, I'm really happy I was your sister at some point. But I found out about what happened between you and Kotono from Cheyenne." She adds, "I have to say, you handled things very well because Kotono is still very young, and it's not her fault at all." Then she leaves. Arata starts thinking, what nonsense did she just say? And is she really worried about our future relationship? Remembering Cheyenne's words, he gets very frustrated because he starts thinking all kinds of strange things. On the other side, we see Uka, who can't believe she said all that. Then the scene shifts to the next morning, where Arata was training, but just then, Minami enters. After seeing her, Arata gets very surprised as Minami wakes up very late, and Arata wonders why she came so early that day. Then we see a scene from the previous night. As soon as she goes out, she sees Uka confessing her love, which shocks her a lot, but she doesn't disturb them. Back in the present, Minami's mind was confused, wondering whether she should ask about it or not, because maybe she misheard something. But her curiosity was eating her up. In the end, she musters up the courage and asks, "Is there something going on between you and Uka?" Arata at first doesn't understand her question, but then again Minami says, "Nothing happened, don't worry." Now Arata was curious about what she wants to talk about. Minami tells him not to worry and leaves, saying she will exercise in the evening. Then we see Arata was still thinking about Minami's question, wondering why she asked and if everything is really okay. He was about to go shower but notices Seiha in the mirror and suddenly gets very shy. He tells Seiha to lock the door. Seiha replies, "We've been together for so long, yet you still get disturbed even though you've seen me many times." Arata thinks, "My sisters are really crazy." Then he thinks about Seiha, who hasn't changed at all even after the incident. It seems she has no problem with blood relations. Then he sees a ring, his mom's, and asks Seiha about it. Seiha explains that it is their mom's memento. Later, we see a scene where Arata was in his room, but then Banri enters. Banri talks about how she was coming into her little brother's room after almost 2 years and even praises Arata for keeping his room very clean. Arata doesn't understand why she's in his room, but then Banri starts reading something cute about the perfect girlfriend on Arata's laptop. Then Banri reveals the real reason for her visit and asks Arata to go on a date with her. After that, we see them at a mobile shop because Arata wanted to buy a new phone for a long time but never got the chance. but then Banri clings to Arata again, making him very embarrassed. She also says that they should go to a hotel after dinner to stay overnight, which makes Arata freak out and he tell her to stop this nonsense. He starts thinking about how Banri always does these weird things. Just then, a lady arrives and says if they buy the phones as a couple with a monthly fee, they will get a discount. Hearing this, Banri gets very excited and agrees, but Arata immediately refuses. After finishing shopping, they go for a walk. Arata thinks about how she teases him all the time. Then they go to eat ice cream. Then Banri asks Arata if anything is troubling him right now, but he refuses to answer and starts talking about his family again. Hearing this, Banri says she is very happy to have such a strong brother and tells him that if he ever has any problem, he should definitely tell her. After that, we see a scene at their house where Kotono was checking photos, especially those with Arata. Then, Banri uploads a photo in their sister's group where she and Arata were enjoying ice cream. Seeing this, Kotono gets a little jealous but is happy to see them having fun and even saves the photo. On the other side, we see that they finish the ice cream, and Banri starts asking where they should go next. But then she gets a message and says she has to leave because she got some work, which surprises Arata. He asks, "Don't you have any other guy you can date?" Hearing this, Banri gets very surprised and threatens him not to say such nonsense. Then we see Banri talking to Minami, telling her nothing seemed unusual. After that, they hang up the phone. Hearing this, Minami was shocked because she was sure she heard everything perfectly, but she doesn't understand how everything can be normal since a love confession between siblings is a big deal. Then she sends a message to Banri, saying maybe she heard something wrong and maybe nothing happened between Arata and Uka. After sending the message, she realizes she sent it to the group by mistake, so she immediately deletes it and hopes no one saw the message. But then suddenly, Uka enters the bathroom, telling her to leave quickly. Seeing Uka, Minami gets very nervous, but Uka doesn't understand anything, which clearly means Uka didn't see the message. But unfortunately, someone else did and that person was very shocked. In the next scene we see dinner time where Arata notices that Seiha wasn't eating and seems lost in thoughts. Even after dinner, she was still thinking about something. After that, Arata meets Seiha, but since she was very quiet, Arata says, "If you have any problem, you can tell me. After all, I'm your brother." While saying this, he feels very awkward, but on the other side, Seiha feels very happy and says, "Looks like you're getting into the flow." Then we see that Seiha wants to play a game of Twister with Arata. Arata doesn't understand why she wants to play this game, but then he guesses that she must have bought it online and now she doesn't know what to do with the game. Seiha says that last time when she went to Arata's room, she got very excited, and if she doesn't clear her feelings, it could be a big risk for her because her university exams are coming soon. Hearing this, Arata was shocked and asks how she can say all this. Seiha says that if her feelings go beyond a brother-sister relationship, things could become very problematic. So it's better to clear things beforehand. And since she is his elder sister, she is sure he won't have any problem helping her. Hearing this, Arata starts thinking, does she also like me? But then Seiha suddenly starts the game, and Arata says, "I never said I want to play this game." But Seiha reminds him how she helped him in his final exams, so Arata now has to agree. As the game progresses, Shia gets very close to Arata, and seeing this, Arata gets uncomfortable and says, "Don't get too close," to which Seiha replies, "I'm just playing according to the rules." The game reaches a point where Arata also gets confused about what to do because Seiha wants them to touch each other during the game, but Arata doesn't want that. Then Seiha blocks all his routes, and now Arata is completely trapped in the corner, so he has to touch Seiha. He says he surrenders, but Seiha refuses, saying it wouldn't be good for him if he surrenders. Now it's Arata's turn, and he has to place his foot under Seiha's, which was a very uncomfortable situation for him because he was now touching her. Seiha then starts saying strange things like, "True happiness is in winning, but you also find happiness where you get love or peace around you." Then she talks about dopamine release during dating, followed by erotic actions. I hope you all understand what I'm trying to say. Hearing this, Arata was traumatized, but Seiha wasn't done yet. She then talks about the human body, physical relationships, and marriage. In the end, to keep all these emotions connected, there is trust, which even science cannot explain properly. Because she doesn't know much about love, she also doesn't know much about trust. She asks if after living with a person for 50 years, do you start trusting them? Or is there a moment you share together? And can that person also be your younger brother? Hearing this, Arata was totally speechless and thinks, is she crazy or is she serious? What nonsense is this about love and destiny? All of this was too much for him, plus he had such a view in front of him. At that moment, Seiya falls on Arata because she was very tired. Arata says, "At least you could have fallen to the side," to which Seiya replies, "I was very tired, so there was no use." But then she says her verification is complete, even though Arata wasn't very cooperative. In the end, Arata concludes that she was just overthinking, something he had said before. But Shia didn't listen because she needed to verify. Before leaving, she thanks Arata. After she leaves, Arata thinks was she making fun of him. Who plays Twister to verify their feelings? Frustrated, he shouts loudly. Just then, Uka arrives and asks why he is shouting. Since she heard Seiya's voice, she asks what they were talking about. Arata says nothing much, but then Uka says, "Let's have some fun." Then they were about to play a game. But before they began, Uka tell Arata that she practiced 30 hours every week. Arata remembers when they were kids, and he used to win games, and Uka used to try deadlocks on him. This was quite concerning because he remembers what Uka said. He thinks he might be the only guy in the whole house still worried about what Dad said. Finally, the gaming starts, and Uka beats Arata 5-0. Uka also starts teasing Arata. And seeing this, Arata thinks, she really seems very happy. Is this game really that fun? During the game, Uka gets very close to Arata, and he notices this too. He also says that her skills have really improved a lot. After that, Arata finally gets serious in the game and manages to defeat Uka twice in a row badly, which makes Uka very angry. Then suddenly, she traps him in a deadlock and says, "If you surrender, I will let you go." Arata says, "I surrender," but in his mind, he was thinking about how close they were. Then he suddenly grabs Uka and pins her down, and she quickly realizes this. He feels scared that maybe Uka might hit him more. But then Uka says, "Looks like you've grown up." Arata doesn't understand why she said that. After that, Uka leaves the place and immediately feels very shy, saying, "Who becomes a big brother at such useless times?" On the other side, Arata doesn't understand why she said all this. After thinking about everything, he gets frustrated and again shouts loudly. At that moment, after Arata leaves, Kotono comes out from a closet, looking very shy as she saw everything. The next day, we see a normal day at school for all the siblings. At night, Arata meets his dad, who gives him a gift and asks how he is doing. He also asks if Arata likes someone, which shocks Arata. Then the scene cuts. On the other side, we see all sisters watching a drama where a love confession was happening. Banri really likes it because the confession is happening in the middle of nature and looks very beautiful. But Uka thinks it's cheap and boring. Then she describes her ideal type, a handsome guy with high education, high income, and confession at a rooftop restaurant with a night view. After that, Seiya shares her type. The guy should have goals and a roadmap to complete them, along with family planning. But they don't ask Kotono's opinion because she was still too young for these things. Then Minami says it doesn't matter where or how the confession is made. What matters is who is confessing. Somehow, all the sisters agree on this. They were now about to go to sleep, but suddenly Kotono stops them and says she likes Arata. Everyone was shocked and says, "Of course, we know you like him." But Kotono says, "No, I don't just like him. I want to marry him. Since we aren't really siblings, I consider you all my love rivals." It's revealed that when they found out they aren't siblings, Kotono was the happiest. Then the scene cuts. On the other side, Arata was talking, asking why he needs to know all this. His dad tells him it's because he's the eldest son of the Shiunji family. No matter how strong a guy is, he will fall for a girl at some point. Arata asks why his dad married his mom. His dad says because of her good looks, but then he shares the real reason. His mom had a strong mouth but was gentle like sunlight, which perfectly matched a weak person like him. He asks if Arata still remembers the promise about the roommate, and Arata says yes, that his dad said when they grow up, he'll show them the entrance to another world. After that, he starts saying that no matter what happens, he will protect his brother and sisters so that their home remains completely happy. Then he leaves from there. After he leaves, his father, looking at a photo of his wife, says that her judgment was not wrong at all. Then the scene cuts. We are shown a mysterious scene where we see a letter. In the background, a little girl is shown. The letter says, "Dear brothers and sisters, how are you? I hope you are doing well." On the other side, the girl was visiting a grave, and her maid praises her because she looks very good in her new clothes. At that moment, the girl's father arrives, who apparently was Arata and with white hairs. The letter also says, "Your smiles are precious to me." At the same moment, some mysterious girl appears, but only half of her face is shown, so we have to guess who this girl is. At the end of the letter, it says, "I love you all." Back in the present, we see Arata was out, jogging, while on the other hand, Shia was trying to focus on her studies. But no matter how hard she tried, she just can't concentrate. Her mind was clearly elsewhere. Meanwhile, we also see Minami, whose thoughts were also completely consumed by Kotono's confession, making it hard for her to focus on her own work too. Then we see Minami steps out of the house for her training, and right at that moment she runs into Arata. Seeing him makes her feel awkward, and she couldn't even talk properly. She quickly tries to make an excuse and leave, but Arata can tell she was lying. He directly asks her what's going on. Hearing this shocks Minami to her core, and her face turns completely red. Arata says to her that her national championship is coming up. If there's something bothering her, she can talk to him, otherwise, it'll affect her performance. Minami tries to brush it off jokingly and says she's totally fine before walking away. But Arata suspects that something was definitely wrong. In the next scene, we see Banri feeding her dog. She says, "Eating is fine, but you should also go jogging with Arata, or you'll get fat." Right then, Arata shows up, surprised to see Banri up so early. Banri explains that she had some college work, so she had to wake up early. Arata looks at the dog and jokes, "You don't go for jogging but never miss a meal." Banri laughs and says, "We should reduce his food then." Hearing this, their dog gets angry and starts chasing Arata. Just then, Shine arrives, and they all decide to quickly finish breakfast and leave since Banri was running late. Meanwhile, we see that the dog has completely knocked Arata out. The scene shifts to the school, where Minami was practicing tennis. The other girls watching her were really impressed. They talk amongst themselves, saying that Minami's game has improved a lot, and even her aura feels different. But inside, Minami was still distracted by the thoughts of the Kotono, which was affecting her focus in game. To add to that, her legs also seem to be hurting a little too. When the break starts, the girls begin complimenting Minami and ask how she plays so well. Minami responds like a child, and no one really understands what she was saying, but they keep praising her anyway. Then Minami sees her senior, Now, and playfully challenges her. They place a bet that whoever loses has to buy juice. As expected, Now loses, which frustrates her a bit. She says that after the championship, she'll be graduating, so Minami would have to find someone else to get her juice from. Then jokingly she adds, "I've bought you so much juice already, and 5 years from now, when you become a champion, I want free tickets." After that, Now shares her honest feelings. She says that when she first heard a middle school prodigy was joining their school, she was worried Minami would be an arrogant girl. But it turned out to be the opposite. Minami was actually really hardworking. Hearing that makes Minami laugh. Now then says, "This is the first time I truly feel like we're going to win. Because before today, our team always performed terribly. And besides, winning the national championship is like a dream for a high schooler." Hearing Nao's words, Minami was quite surprised. Then, jokingly, Minami starts teasing Nao, which makes Nao really angry, and she challenges Minami again. The scene then shifts to the training area, where Minami overhears a group of girls talking. They were saying that Nao didn't receive any university recommendation and might even quit the club after the championship. Her parents want her to get a job, even though she truly loves playing tennis. Hearing all this, Minami finally realizes what her senpai really wanted. She thinks, "You saved me." Then we see a flashback of when Minami and Nao first met, during a match, where Minami defeated Nao badly. Minami recalls some good moments they shared afterward and resolves not to show any weakness. No matter what, she has to win the gold medal, not for herself, but for Nao. Then the scene shifts back to Minami at the gym. She was training hard, though her legs were still giving her some trouble. Just then, Arata enters the gym, looking calm and serious. The moment Minami sees him, she gets a little nervous. Arata asks, "Next Saturday is your national championship, right?" Minami nods. Arata says, "I'm going to train you." Minami was a bit shocked. She tells him she already has plenty of coaches and that he doesn't need to worry about her performance. But Arata says, "I know that you're injured." Hearing that, Minami goes completely silent. Then she tries to brush it off with a smile and says, "You must be misunderstanding something." But Arata replies, "You're only making it more obvious. Our maid saw you changing your bandages." He continues, "Now I understand why you've been acting strange lately." Minami thinks to herself, that's only one of the reasons. She remembers the time when Kotono made her confession in front of everyone, and how after she left, people started laughing and taking it as a joke. But then Shia speaks up, "Do you really think she was joking? She's 15 now, she's not a little girl anymore." Hearing this, even Uka looks visibly disturbed. The scene shifts back to the present, where Arata was checking Minami's leg. He presses different points, but Minami doesn't feel any pain, which surprises him. Minami reacts like a child, playfully. Arata thinks, from childhood, she must have built up incredible endurance and flexibility through stretching. Then he starts having some weird thoughts but quickly realizes and tries to calm himself. Still, he can't stop thinking about how pretty and popular Minami is. Arata asks her, "Did you tell your club members about the injury?" Minami shakes her head and says, "I don't want to disappoint them." Arata explains that if she keeps going like this, the injury might get worse. But Minami says she has a backup plan and still, she wants to win this championship for someone else. Hearing that, Arata feels happy and doesn't stop her, since the injury didn't seem too serious. Still, he advises her to visit the hospital at least once. Then Arata does some stretching, and Minami helps him. He starts to feel that Minami was getting a little too close. Later, we see Arata heading back to his room and suddenly, Kotono appears in front of him. Seeing her, Arata was shocked, because ever since the bathroom incident, they haven't properly spoken to each other. Arata starts wondering if something is bothering Kotono. He tells her, "It's pretty late now, you should get some sleep." Just then, Kotono asks him, "Were you with Minami? Is something strange going on between you two?" Hearing this, Arata was a bit taken aback. He doesn't understand why Kotono was asking this. He wonders if Kotono somehow knows about Minami's injury. Arata denies it, and upon hearing that, Kotono feels a little awkward and quietly walks away. In the next scene, we see Minami in the middle of her match, and everyone was praising her performance and looks. Minami remembers Nao's struggles and decides that no matter what, she's going to win this match. She recalls her training and thinks, "Because of training, my skills have improved a lot." Finally, she wins the match, though it was just a qualifier. After the match, everyone praises her, and her senpai now thanks her. Later, as everyone boards the bus, Minami suddenly appears quite nervous, which Nao notices. Later back at home, Arata was helping Minami with her stretching. Minami tells him that after she informed the club about her injury, they introduced her to a new trainer. Hearing this, Arata says, "Then I resign. You now have 2 professional trainers who can help you improve even more." The scene shifts directly to the day of the finals. Early in the morning, Arata and Banri were having breakfast, but no one had seen Minami. He asks Banri where Minami was, but Banri also didn't know anything. After breakfast, Banri, being naughty as always, gets up and teases Arata, but Arata loses his temper and yells at her as he was tensed about Minami's match. Just then, she arrives and asks about Minami too, since no one has seen her since morning. Everyone starts to wonder where she could have gone. Soon they discover that Minami's match shoes were still at home. Kotono, Uka, and Cheyenne also arrive, but none of them knew where Minami was. Because of that, everyone starts to get really tense. Just then, as they were all stressing over this, Minami suddenly arrives, surprising everyone. She sees them all gathered and casually asks, "What are you all doing here?" Everyone was shocked to see her. When asked about the championship, she tells them not to worry because even if she arrives late, her supporters won't mind. This leaves everyone even more surprised. As Minami walks away, others begin wondering why she's acting this way. Arata, on the other hand, begins thinking, could this behavior be because of her injury? He heads straight to her room, and there, he finds her eating chips like an animal. The moment Minami realizes Arata is there, she starts talking in a totally normal tone. But Arata tells her that he's not that clueless and directly asks what's going on because as far as he knew, she was very excited about the match. Minami laughs and tells him that everyone found out about her injury and now a substitute will be playing in her place. She says she's actually quite happy because now she gets a break and can finally look forward to her bright future. Arata asks her, "So you've accepted it? After all, this is something you've been working towards for so long, and you wanted to win this, not for yourself, but for someone else." Minami, laughing lightly, tries to explain her situation to Arata. She tells him that there's nothing she can really do now, because after all she's injured, and if she even tries to force herself to compete in this condition, she'll most likely lose. Hearing this, Arata goes silent. Then, without saying much, he simply says, "All right then," and starts walking away. But even though he leaves, he still wasn't fully convinced. Something doesn't feel right to him. Still, Minami's cheerful spirit, her positive attitude, that seems real. Right after this, Cheyenne wants to talk to Arata, and we cut to a scene in Cheyenne's room. Arata shares everything that just happened, and then Cheyenne reveals something from that very morning. He tells Arata that while he was in the yard, he heard someone quietly crying. When he went to check, he saw that Minami was crying. Back then, he didn't give it too much thought. But now things are starting to make sense. Minami has been removed from the player list. Arata was shocked, but Cheyenne continues. She's pretending to be fine and keeping her spirit high, just so no one else around her worries. But the truth is Minami herself is deeply hurt. Meanwhile, we see Minami again, most likely crying alone. But suddenly, Arata enters her room, and Minami was totally caught off guard. The scene shifts again. Now we see everyone getting into a car, planning to go somewhere, and Minami was left surprised. Turns out, Banri is the one driving and she had just learned how to drive. so naturally she was very nervous behind the wheel. And on top of that, Uka was constantly stressing her out, reminding everyone that the match is starting in just 20 minutes. If they keep moving this slow, they won't make it in time. With all this chaos inside the car, Minami silently watches all of this and starts thinking, my siblings are putting in all this effort just for me. But is it really right for me to make a comeback in this condition? Then we see a flashback where we see Minami's teacher strictly advising her not to compete due to her injury. Even her senior, now, tells her the same, that healing is more important. But Minami speaks her heart out. I can't just step back. Because of you, Neo-senpai, I've learned to truly enjoy tennis. And I want to win this tournament for you. This completely stuns Now. She was emotional and quietly thanks Minami for those words. Back in the present, Arata finally speaks up. I don't know if letting you compete is the right thing to do, but I'll say this. If anything goes wrong out there, please be ready to accept it and step back. And more importantly, stop lying to yourself and to me. The match begins. Minami's team takes the court, but it was a disaster. They were losing badly, 40-0. That alone tells you how rough the situation was. Meanwhile, Minami's siblings, the ones trying to reach the match venue, were now stuck in traffic. They start worrying as the match has already started, and even if they leave on foot, it'll take too long to get there. Even Arata was unsure what to do until he spots rental cycles nearby. With no other option left, he grabs a bike, and Arata and Minami rushes off toward the venue. Back at the match, despite losing the solo round, the team manages to make a comeback in the doubles round. Meanwhile, Minami asks Arata, why are you doing all this for me? Why are you working so hard, just for me? And Arata's answer was simple, yet hard to say, because you're my sister. But honestly, he was so exhausted from all the cycling, he barely manages to get the words out. Then he remembers a memory from childhood back in 5th grade, on Mother's Day. The teacher had asked everyone to write something about their mom. Everyone else wrote lovely, heartwarming things except Uka, who just started crying. She couldn't write anything at all. But Minami had written something beautiful, that even though she didn't have a mom, she had siblings who were very close to her. And for that, she was grateful. Arata ends by saying, to be honest, I never really thought about that deeply until now. At this point, we're shown another flashback scene. Minami had gotten injured, and she was even bleeding because of it. But despite that, she smiles and casually tells Arata about it, like it's no big deal. That's when Arata opens up. No matter what the situation is, you always smile. Honestly, that's kind of a foolish thing to do. But watching you train so hard every day, I realized you're an incredibly hardworking person. And compared to anyone else I've seen, you're way more positive. He then asks her to promise that she'll be careful from now on, and Minami quietly agrees. We shift back to the match, where Minami's team wins another set. Now was thrilled and confident, but then Minami walks into the court unexpectedly. Everyone was shocked to see her. Before anyone could respond, Arata drops on his knees and begs the coach to let Minami play. He says, I know this request might sound crazy, but please, this competition, it means everything to her. It's her future. Minami joins in, asking them with all her heart. Seeing their determination, Now, who was the first one to oppose it, now goes to request the coach herself. On the other side, Minami's siblings finally arrive at the parking lot. Her first singles match begins, but Minami was nervous. Her heartbeat was racing. She was overwhelmed with anxiety, until suddenly she hears her family cheering for her from the stands. The moment she sees them, her fear disappears, and with that the match kicks off. Minami plays really well. She was confident and she feels like she's going to win. But suddenly the scene cuts to the evening. Minami stands in front of everyone and apologizes. I couldn't win the match. Maybe if we had gone with the original lineup, we could have won. Everyone was stunned to hear this. But then, Now speaks up and thanks her. It's because of you we even made it this far. Your energy gave all of us the confidence we needed. If you hadn't been here, we might not have even reached this stage. Hearing all this, Minami begins to cry. Meanwhile, her siblings were still discussing that Minami was supposed to return home with them. They're not sure where she is. They wonder if she might have left with her school team, but that seems unlikely. After all, the result of the match wasn't in her favor. Then we see Arata finds Minami sitting alone in a park. She looks completely drained, emotionally and physically. He was surprised as she seems depressed, but the moment she sees Arata, she quickly switches to acting normal. She apologizes. I'm sorry, you guys did so much for me and I still lost. Even then others were thanking me, which honestly felt strange. If they had just gotten angry at me, maybe I would have felt better. I want to thank you all, because if I had stayed home, I would have regretted it even more. But now I have no regrets. So, let's just go home already. She begins to walk away. But just then Arata hugs her tightly from behind. Minami was stunned. Arata softly says, I told you to stop lying. If you're feeling sad, just cry. Minami, holding back, finally asks, what should I even do now? If I become the world's #1 tennis player, will everyone forgive me? Should I buy them private jet tickets so they can watch my matches? What can I do so that everyone forgives me? She continues, why am I this weak? I practiced like an idiot for days and days, and still I lost. Finally, she breaks down. I just want to become strong. And with that, she starts crying her heart out. Arata says nothing, he just holds her quietly. Later next day, we see Minami was taking a bath. As she relaxes, her thoughts drift to Arata. She remembers how he took her to the stadium on his bicycle and how he had pleaded with the teacher to give her one more chance to play. She also recalls how he told her not to hide her emotions. Thinking about all of this, Minami starts blushing and behaving awkwardly in the bath. It's clear her feelings for Arata are growing stronger. Meanwhile, we see Uka, who is still furious over Minami's loss. She yells that Minami should have won the game and accuses the other team of cheating. Shia tries to calm her down, saying she's still stuck on the same issue, but Uka insists she saw everything herself and the referee didn't even call the foul. She blames the referee entirely and says Minami should have been the winner. Banri agrees, saying Minami wasn't supposed to lose. Uka turns to Arata and asks if he agrees too. Arata replies that the result wasn't as important to him as seeing Minami get the chance to play. Banri smiles and says Arata's speech was actually pretty impressive. Uka then interrupts and says Arata is starting to act like their dad and even talks like him now. She then turns to Minami and asks if she hit the right shot or not. Minami responds, what's done is done, there's no point dwelling on it. But Uka still wasn't ready to let it go and sticks to her argument. Minami then admits that it was partly her own fault. She was injured and couldn't play her best. However, she adds that her leg feels much better now. As the discussion continues, Arata quietly thinks to himself that putting so much pressure on Minami isn't fair. He looks at her and Minami starts blushing again. He asks if she's done with her workout and if she has a fever, warning her that it could affect her performance. Minami, flustered, keeps nodding and replying yes, without even making eye contact. Suddenly, Uka accidentally throws a ball that's about to hit Minami, but Arata catches it just in time. He tells Uka she should be more careful while playing. At that moment, Arata ends up standing really close to Minami, making her blush yet again. Banri comments that Arata made a great catch, while Uka mutters to herself, if only that ball had hit Arata, that would have been fun. Arata asks Minami if she's okay. She blushes even harder and says she's fine, still unable to look into his eyes. She then starts having flashbacks, Uka's I love you confession to Arata, and also Kotono's love confession. Meanwhile, Arata and Uka start arguing again, and Minami keeps staring at Arata, wondering if something like this could ever really happen. We then see Kotono, who was also thinking only about Arata. Just then, Uka walks into her room and says it's been a while since she last visited. She compliments the room, saying it looks nice, but Kotono cuts to the point and asks why Uka is there and what she wants to talk about. Uka says she wants to talk about Arata. She tells Kotono she's been thinking about what she said last time. Why did she suddenly confess? Was someone forcing her to say those things? She asks if Kotono is actually serious about Arata and if she really thinks their relationship has a future. Kotono calmly replies that she knows everything and that she saw it all. She knows Uka also confessed, I love you, to Arata, and she saw how close they both were in the gaming room. Hearing this, Uka was surprised for a moment and said, which gaming room are you even talking about? I didn't do anything. Kotono replied, I was hiding behind the curtain and heard everything you two were talking about. I think you guys are trying to keep me away from Arata, especially you, so you can get closer to him. Uka immediately says, No, you've misunderstood. I told Arata, I like you as a brother, not as a lover. Arata understood it clearly too, and whatever happened in the gaming room was just an accident. Honestly, I don't even remember the last time I properly talked to Arata. Hearing this, Kotono felt really happy and excited, saying, Really? You still see Arata only as your big brother? You don't like him that way? Uka said, Yes, don't worry, I definitely don't see Arata like that. Kotono was very pleased to hear this and immediately apologized to Uka. After that, Uka leaves, but something was in her hand which made her think about Arata again. Next, we see Banri's scene. She had forgotten some stuff at her nursing school and wanted to get it, so she asked Uka for help, but both Uka and Shia both refused to go with her. Then she remembered that Arata was at home, so she quickly ran to him. In the next scene, Arata and Banri were standing in front of her school. Arata said, This is my first time at your school, but honestly, the school looks really creepy at night. Banri replies, You don't have to say that. Ever since I stopped being scared of ghosts, people keep talking all sorts of weird things. Then Arata asks, By the way, why did you choose nursing school? Banri didn't say anything. She was walking right behind him, but the truth was she was very scared and clung closer to Arata. Arata, a little nervous because she was so close, said, "We should walk a little apart." But Banri refused and got even closer. They walked on, and Banri said, "Arata, be honest, aren't you a little scared here? I think we should sing a song to distract ourselves." She went on to say more, but Arata covered her mouth and whispered, "Be quiet. I think someone's coming." Actually, a security guard was patrolling there, checking everything before walking away. Arata said, "That was a close call. We could have been caught." Then he realized he was holding Banri in the wrong place. Banri says, "Now that he's gone, you can let me go." Arata felt awkward and removed his hand. He remembered his past when he used to play with Bandi as kids. Now he felt her body was much softer than before. Banri lovingly says, "Come on, let's go." They head toward the clubroom and enter inside. Banri turn on the lights first, brightening the room a little. Arata asks, "Why did you turn on the light?" Banri casually replies, "No need to worry. The security guard just went out to patrol." Arata looked around inside and thought, "So this is what a college clubroom looks like." Bandi, excited, says, "Finally found it." She picked up a cat doll she had forgotten here because of her assignment. Then she started telling Arata about a child in the children's ward who used to stay all alone and didn't talk to anyone. But ever since this club has started, all the kids in the hospital, along with many nurses, started spending time together. Even that child who seemed so lonely every time now looked much happier. Banri tells Arata that she created this club just so that there would be toys and comics here to make the kids happy. She continues, "We are going to gift this cat doll to that child tomorrow because he will be discharged from the hospital. That child is really sweet." Then she goes on to tell Arata, "You asked me why I chose nursing school. I'm a little older than you. Once, I came to the hospital with Dad to see Mom. When it was time to leave, I didn't want to go away from Mom, so I got really sad and sat alone in a corner. Then a nurse came to me and spent some really nice time with me, which made me very happy. That day, I decided I wanted to become a nurse too, so that one day I could also make a child happy like that." Hearing this, Arata felt very happy inside. But then Banri teased Arata again, "By the way, when you held me, didn't you feel something soft?" And she started laughing. She then noticed that Arata had already walked ahead and wasn't listening to her at all. Banri shouted and ran after him. Next, we see the scene the following day at the hospital, where all the kids were very happy seeing their new toys. Banri takes a group photo and sends it to Arata, saying, "Thanks, Arata, for your help." Arata smiles looking at the photo. Then we see the next day at school, where the results were about to be declared in Uka's class. Some friends got A grades, some got B, and they asked Uka about her grade. Then Uka's result was shown on screen. She got a D grade. Shocked by this result, Uka's face clearly shows her tension. In the next scene, it's Saturday, a holiday for everyone. Arata was about to freshen up when he notices Uka with her backpack and asks, "Where are you going with that backpack?" Uka casually says, "I'm going to Yamanashi." Arata gets confused and says, "Are you crazy? Suddenly going to Yamanashi?" Uka, with a bit of attitude, replies, "Why? Can't I go there?" She just says goodbye and leaves. Arata stands there thinking, suddenly, what's the plan for Yamanashi? It's a 3-day holiday, so maybe she's going on a trip. We then see the whole family going about their daily routines. Now 3 days later, Uka still hasn't returned home. Then we see the girls standing at the train station. Banri says, "Everyone's just staring at us. Everyone knows Uka isn't here." Other girls say, "We tried calling her, but she's not picking up." Then the scene shifts to Arata's classroom, where 2 girls come to him and ask, "Do you know anything about Uka? She never missed school before, but she's been missing for 3 days now. We're really worried and the club activities are all pending too." Arata says, "Sorry, but I don't know much. She's not picking up our calls either." The girls then tell Arata that if he gets any information he should definitely let them know. After they leave, Arata starts thinking that Uka has really been causing a lot of trouble, first suddenly going to Yamanashi, then disappearing for 3 days and still not coming back home. The scene then shifts back to their house, where all the siblings were sitting together. Shia says, "The 3rd day is almost over, I'm starting to get scared," and quietly wonders what reason could be behind Uka still not returning home. She then asks Arata, "Did you talk to her?" Arata denies it, but Shia teases him, saying, "You two are twins and you still haven't talked?" Arata replies, "I'm surprised you care so much about Uka. I thought you'd react normally." Then Banri says, "I finally found Uka's location, she's near Mount Fuji." Hearing this, Arata was shocked because Uka had told him something different and had gone somewhere else. Shia suggests, maybe Google gave the wrong location. Everyone gets confused about how this could be. Meanwhile, Arata's mind keeps spinning as he thinks, Why did Oka go to Mount Fuji? Did I hear it wrong, or did she give me the wrong location? Then Shia reassures, no need to worry so much, Oka's grown up and can take care of herself. Banri agrees, and they all decide they should have dinner now. But Arata was quietly thinking about what Oka could have been doing at Mount Fuji for 3 days and how she didn't even consider how worried everyone must be about her. The scene cuts to Oka, who was in a hot spring. She talks to the owner, apologizing and saying she wants to stay one more day. The owner replies that it's not a problem because there are fewer tourists at this time, so many rooms are empty. After that, Oka starts talking to herself, muttering, I have to see something. The scene shifts back to Arata, who is now packing his winter clothes to go somewhere. Banri comes to him and asks, why are you packing these clothes? Arata says, I'm going to Mount Fuji to find Oka. Banri says, I think it's getting late. You should leave tomorrow. But Arata replies, don't worry. I'll bring her back before school starts. And if the location changes even a little, contact me immediately. Banri tries to stop him, but then Shia enters and says, we're leaving the responsibility of Oka to you. Arata agrees, yes, don't worry. Finally, Arata reaches near Mount Fuji and goes to the same hotel where Oka was staying. Oka was shocked to see him and asks, what are you doing here? Arata was happy to see Oka and tells her he walked an hour to get here. Oka, a little angry, asks, why did you come here? Then they have a bit of an argument. Arata says, I came here to find you, to see if you're okay, and I'll take you back home. Oka replies, but I never called you. Arata ends up staying there overnight. In the next scene, they were both getting ready to sleep. Arata feels uncomfortable thinking about sharing the same room. Memories from the gaming room flash in his mind when he and Oka had gotten really close. He thinks to himself, to be honest, I feel pretty awkward, but then decides he shouldn't overthink it. Then Oka says, look the other way, I need to change my clothes. Arata quickly turns away and immediately starts apologizing. Oka asks, why are you apologizing? You have to look away anyway while I change. After that, Arata looks the other way and Oka begins changing her clothes. But then strange and awkward thoughts start running through his mind, and finally he thinks, what am I even thinking? Just then Oka says, alright, I'm done, and immediately lies down. After that, Arata asks Oka, why aren't you going back to school? You know your dream of becoming student president is about to be shattered. Oka replies, who told you I'm going back to school? Hearing this, Arata gets a little frustrated and says, you have to go. Oka doesn't say anything in response. After a moment, Oka quietly asks, do people really care about me? Arata replies honestly, yes, they worry a lot about you. Every day, all anyone talks about is you, whether at school or at home. Then Arata says, remember how mom and dad first met at Mount Fuji? Dad carried mom on his back because she had hurt her leg. It was so romantic. 2 strangers met one day and then they became our parents. He hesitates a little, then asks, do you believe in soulmate things? Does destiny decide in advance who we marry? Oka thinks for a moment, then asks, can soulmates be siblings too? Hearing this, Arata was literally shocked and says, are you crazy? What are you saying? Oka casually says, yeah, even Kotono likes you a lot. Arata stops her and says, all this is nonsense, stop thinking like this. Arata was about to ask why Oka had come here, but then he sees she has already fallen asleep. Quietly, he goes over to her and covers her with a blanket. The next morning, when Arata opens his eyes, he notices Oka wasn't there. Immediately, he thinks, this girl is seriously causing way too much trouble. Then he spots a letter on the bed that says, I'll get home before you. The scene cuts, and we see Oka climbing up a mountain. Right after, we see Banri angrily talking to Arata on the phone. Arata was explaining that, when I woke up this morning she was already gone, and only a letter was left. Banri says, I'm checking her location, but I don't feel like she's coming back home at all. Arata realizes this girl is going to cause even more trouble, and he tells Banri, if you get any information, tell me immediately. Then Arata immediately sets off to find Oka. The scene shifts back to Oka, where some people were staring at her and talking among themselves, wondering why this girl is standing here for over an hour. They discuss that she was standing here yesterday as well. Meanwhile, Oka was looking at a pair of earrings in her hand and thinking, what am I doing? Will doing this really fix everything? I've missed school, and Arata even came to take me. I wish I had gone with him. Then she starts coming down the mountain, but she was not paying attention to the path. Suddenly, she realizes she's lost her way, and the direction she was going in doesn't match where she wanted to go. Soon, every path looks the same, and there was no one around her. Oka panics, slips, and falls, injuring her leg badly. She can't even stand up now and starts shouting for help, but no one is nearby. On the other side, we see Arata, who has searched everywhere for Uka and returned to the hotel. He notices Uka's bag was still at the hotel. Then Banri calls him saying, a little while ago, Uka's phone signal was detected at the top of the mountain. Arata understands that Uka was still on the mountain. Then we see a flashback of Uka's 5th birthday when their dad gave her a pair of earrings that belonged to their mom. Those same earrings are now in Uka's hand. Uka was completely exhausted, hungry, her phone battery is dead, and the pain prevents her from moving. She thinks to herself, no one is coming to save me now, I'll just die here. But then she looks at the earrings in her hand and sees Arata's reflection in them. As her eyes lift upward, Arata was standing there. In the next scene we see a glimpse into Uka's past, where she was spending some happy moments with her dad. Then we flash back to a few days ago, where Uka wanted to talk to her father. They were both at home, but despite wanting to speak, she couldn't bring herself to say anything and quietly walked away. We then return to the present, where Arata finally finds Uka. The moment she sees him, she says, "What are you doing here?" She tries to get up, but falls back down again. Arata immediately rushes to her side and says, "Get on my back, I'll carry you down from here." Uka responds, "You don't need to worry so much. Just show me the way, I'll go by myself." Hearing this, Arata gets slightly angry and says, "You don't need to act so tough. Just listen to what I'm saying." Embarrassed, Uka quietly climbs onto his back and, with a faint smile, says, "I hope I'm not too heavy." Then she answers herself, "No, I don't think I'm that heavy." And Arata replies, "Yeah, you're really light." At that moment, Arata thinks to himself, maybe this is what dad felt when he carried mom. As he begins walking, the path becomes rough, and suddenly the weather takes a turn for the worse. While they're still on the way, heavy rain starts pouring down. Uka begins thinking, what kind of situation have I gotten myself into? Meanwhile, Arata thinks, at least I found her, that's something good. Then, Uka opens up and begins telling Arata why she came to Mount Fuji. She says, "I saw a TikTok video that said if you touch a Mount Fuji memento and look up at the sky, you can talk to your family. I wanted to talk to mom, so I came here." Arata asks, "So, did you get to meet her?" Uka says, Maybe mom wasn't really our biological mom. That's why she didn't come to meet me." She begins to cry and says, "And I can't even share this with anyone. Not my friends, not even dad. He kept such a huge truth from us for so many years. I feel like I can't even go back to school anymore." Arata gently says, "For me, nothing has changed. Even if we're not related by blood, I still consider you all my siblings." Uka responds, "But for me, everything has changed. Ever since I found out we're not real siblings, everything has started to feel strange." Then she asks, "How did you even find me?" Arata replies, "You may think we're not real siblings, but I do. And because of that, I'll come find you no matter where you are, no matter what trouble you're in. I'll always be there to help. And if you ever get hurt, I'll be ready to share your pain. And if something ever bothers you or makes you feel low, you can always talk to me." Hearing Arata's words, Uka feels overwhelmed. Meanwhile, the rest of the siblings were also on their way to Mount Fuji. They were extremely worried, because they couldn't find the exact location on Google Maps, and second, because of the terrible weather. They weren't even able to reach Arata over the phone. Finally, we see Arata and Uka make it to their hotel. Uka gets some first aid, and after a short rest, they check out and start heading home. Arata says, "You should walk a bit carefully." Uka laughs and says, "You don't need to worry so much. I'll walk however I can. Besides, I can't stay on your back forever, can I?" As they move ahead, they see the rest of their siblings waiting for them. Everyone gets really happy seeing Arata and Uka and rushes over. Uka, surprised, asks, "What are you all doing here?" Banri replies, "We were really worried about you. We just wanted to make sure you're okay." Then she checks on Arata too and notices that both of them are completely soaked. Arata, a bit shocked, asks, "How did you all get here so quickly?" Minami replies, "As soon as school ended, we came straight here." Seiha and the others explain, "We told Minami that Arata had gone to find Uka, but she didn't believe us. She thought maybe even Arata had run away from home." Minami, blushing, says, "Why, I was just worried. That's why my mind started jumping to conclusions." What's wrong with that? She was literally blushing really hard while saying that. Arata smiles and thanks her for being so concerned about him. Then we see everyone heading back, sitting in the car. Seiha says to Banri, "Can't you drive a bit faster?" But Banri is still just as nervous as before. Then the others start asking Uka, "Why did you even go to Mount Fuji? You even missed school for it. Was there something special there?" Uka remains silent at first but then softly replies, "I wanted to see the place where mom and dad met for the first time. That's the only reason I went there." Shine says, "You were absolutely right. We all should visit that place someday." The scene then shifts where everyone has finally reached home. They all start getting out of the car. Uka tries to wake Arata, but he still doesn't respond. When she touches his face, she realizes that he had high fever, due to which everyone starts panicking and Cheyenne picks him up and takes him to his room, placing him gently on the bed. The next day at school, Uka's friends come up to her and ask, "What happened to you? Why haven't you been to school these past few days?" Uka replies, "I went to visit some relatives and I slipped and injured my leg there." One of her friends then asks, "Well, you're here today, but Arata didn't come to school." Hearing that, Uka starts thinking to herself, how did that gorilla catch a fever? And throughout the whole day, her mind was filled only with thoughts of Arata. We're then shown a scene at home where Banri was making food for Arata. Minami and Kotono were also doing their homework. Banri asks, "Who wants to take the food to Arata?" Both girls get super excited and say, "I'll go." They glance at each other and start blushing. Banri looks at them. She was a bit confused, but then she says, "Minami, you take the food. Kotono, help me with the dishes." Then Banri leans in and whispers to Minami, "We should probably keep Arata and Kotono apart for a while, or things might get complicated." Hearing this, even Minami starts blushing. It was obvious that she had also started liking Arata too. Then Seiha arrives and says, "I think Arata's fever is a little better than yesterday. He should be able to return to school by tomorrow." Just then, Uka enters. Others immediately start scolding her, saying, "You should be taking care of Arata. He's sick because of you. If you hadn't gone to Mount Fuji, he wouldn't have gone after you, and wouldn't have gotten soaked in the rain." Banri adds, "We need to let him rest. He's already pushed himself way too much." Then the scene shifts to Arata's room, where Uka was with him. She keeps apologizing over and over, saying, "You got sick because of me, but can I tell you something? When you saved me that day, it actually made me really happy. I always pretend like I don't care, but when you said you don't need a reason to save someone, it really hit me." She keeps saying sorry and then adds, "There's one more thing I want to say. Something I wanted to say to Mom. I really like you. I know you probably just see me as your little sister, or your twin, but I think you're the perfect person for me." And with that, Uka literally says, "I love you," to Arata. The scene then cuts to Banri, who was asking everyone, "Where did Uka go?" Minami replies, "I think I saw her heading into Arata's room. Maybe she went there to pick the plates." The others start discussing amongst themselves that this whole mess was because of Uka. Minami adds, "She went to the same place where Mom and Dad met for the first time." Seiha says, "I have a feeling there's more to this story and Uka's hiding something from us. We shouldn't dig into it too much right now." Suddenly, out of nowhere, Kotono blurts out, "I think Uka went to Mount Fuji to fly a kite." Everyone looks completely shocked after hearing this. Kotono quickly tries to clarify, No, you don't get it. She doesn't know how to fly a kite, and Mount Fuji is the highest place, so I thought maybe she went there so the kite would fly more easily." Everyone bursts into laughter and says, "Kotono, you're such a genius." Then the scene shifts back to Arata's room, where we see Uka kissing him. She gets up, smiles, and quietly apologizes for the kiss before leaving the room. But here comes the biggest twist. Arata wasn't asleep at all. In the next scene we see entire Shiunji family arriving at a rest house, which was owned by their father, where they've come to play golf. It's been a long time since their last visit, so everyone was walking around, reminiscing and taking in the sights. Arata looks around and thinks, "We've grown up so much since the last time we were here." While he was lost in thought, Banri suddenly comes up and clings to him, teasing him like always. Arata chases her off, slightly annoyed. Then, Arata notices Uka and begins thinking about what happened the previous night. The kiss. He thought that something was not right. Uka told me she likes me while I was supposedly asleep. But that kiss, there's no way that was fake. I just can't figure out what's going on. Just then, Uka walks up to him and asks if he's okay. Arata panics and awkwardly replies, "I think I'm just a little carsick." Uka looks surprised and says, "That's never happened to you before." Arata, flustered, says, "Well, it has now." The scene then shifts to Cheyenne, who was heading somewhere. Then it cuts back to Arata, who was now in the shower, still thinking, why did Uka do that? Is she sick? Was she sleepwalking? Or mentally unstable? No, she isn't like that at all. Then why? Suddenly, the door opens and Cheyenne walks in, saying, "You've been in there forever." Arata replies, "Yeah, it's the first time that's happened." Cheyenne then reveals that he went to see his real parents and met a man who claimed to be the real Shiyama Ichi. Arata is surprised and asks, "Seriously?" Cheyenne clarifies, "There was just one person there." Arata then asks, "Don't you feel like meeting your real parents?" Cheyenne calmly replies, "There's no point in lying. I do want to meet them, but the family I'm living with now, that's the one that really matters to me." Hearing that, Arata says, You're behaving just like you always do. Shion nods, hands him a towel, and walks away. As Arata steps outside, he spots Uka and begins to approach her. But Minami and Kotono notice him and keep their eyes on him. Next, we're shown an evening scene where everyone is gathered around having a barbecue. They're chatting, eating, and enjoying themselves. Kotono brings some food specifically for Arata. Then we cut to a scene where Minami was digging through her bag and looking at a jeans patch, possibly something meaningful to her. Night falls and everyone has gone to bed. Uka wakes up and notices Arata isn't in his room. We see that Arata was sitting alone in the sauna, lost in his own thoughts. He reflects on Shion's decision to seek out his real parents and thinks, whatever happens, this is my true family. I want to live with them, but if any other member wants to find their real family, I'll help them too. Then his thoughts drift to Uka, and worried, he rushes out of the sauna. And there she was, Uka sitting right outside. She comments, "You stayed in there for 5 minutes and a few seconds. You've gotten pretty weak, Arata." Arata was surprised and flustered, wondering, how long has she been out here? Uka says she's been sitting there ever since he went into the sauna. As Arata tries to leave, Uka says, "Remember how we used to challenge each other to sauna endurance contests as kids?" That throws Arata into a spiral of awkward thoughts again. How do I keep ending up in situations like this? Trying to keep it together, he eventually agrees, and they both sit in the sauna together. But Arata's mind was racing with all kinds of thoughts. Why do I keep falling into these situations? Why can't I stay calm? Then Uka suddenly asks, "What are your plans when it comes to having a girlfriend?" After hearing the question, Arata asks, "Why do you want to know?" Uka replies, "I'm just curious." Arata responds, "Right now, there's nothing going on." Then we see Minami, who notices that both Arata and Uka are no longer in their rooms. Then we're shown Arata stepping out of the sauna, clearly stressed. He was thinking, when did Uka's sauna endurance increase so much? Then Uka suddenly asks him, "Do you remember Lala, that girl you had a crush on?" Arata replies, "Yeah." Uka continues, "Do you still have feelings for her?" Arata says, "No, not at all. She has a boyfriend now. I pray for their happiness, but I don't have any feelings for her anymore. I couldn't get over her for a while, but someone like me, no one's ever going to fall in love with a fool like me." Suddenly, Uka stands up with a bright smile, says something cheerfully, and walks away, leaving Arata confused and wondering what just happened. We then see Uka sitting alone in the bathroom, deep in thought. She realizes she's been acting way too clingy with Arata lately, and doesn't even understand what she's doing anymore. Then we get a flashback from their childhood, Uka and Arata sitting in the sauna, talking about their private lives and having a heart-to-heart. That memory brings us back to the present, where Uka begins to realize that maybe she's liked Arata ever since they were kids. She blushes in embarrassment and thinks, "I'm such a fool." Next, we see Arata sitting alone outside, thinking seriously about everything that's been happening with Uka. "I need to put an end to whatever this is between me and Uka. If I don't, things might turn out the same way they did with Kotono. I can't let that happen." Just then Minami appears, and Arata was surprised. He asks, "You're up early?" Minami nods and he asks, "What's up?" She says, "I want to take you somewhere." The next thing we see, they've arrived at a flower garden. Arata immediately realizes that Minami brought him there on purpose. He also notices that today, for the first time, she's wearing a skirt. He thinks to himself, she always wore gym clothes before, she really has grown up. As they stroll through the garden looking at different types of flowers, Minami thanks Arata for helping her when she sprained her ankle. Arata brushes it off as no big deal. Then Arata notices that there are a lot of couples around them and begins to feel a bit uncomfortable. Sensing this, Minami says, "I'm going to ask you a question. If you don't want to answer, it's okay." She asks, "What's your ideal type of wife?" Arata was completely taken back by this question. She quickly adds, "It's just the mood of the place, so I thought it was the right time to ask." Arata thinks and replies, "Someone I feel comfortable being uncomfortable with, someone who understands me." Minami nods and says, "I see." Then Arata notices a price tag still stuck on her skirt. Minami tries to remove it but fails. Arata offers to help, but even he struggles to peel it off. He finally says, "I'll just bite it off," and bends down to remove it with his teeth, which embarrasses both of them. Later, we see Arata taking several pictures of Minami as they explore the garden together. He starts thinking, what's going on with her today? She's acting so different. Then Minami confesses, "I like someone." Arata was shocked. He suddenly realizes why she asked about the ideal wife, why she brought him here, and why she's been acting this way. He says, "I'm not sure if my answer helped you much, that whole ideal wife thing." Minami replies, "No, actually what you said really helped me a lot." This stuns Arata, and Minami walks off toward a bell tower. We then see Minami buying something for Arata, while Arata thinks, it's great that Minami likes someone, but can I really be like an older brother to her? But the moment he thinks of love again, his mind drifts straight back to Uka. Frustrated, he screams out loud. In the next scene, entire family go toward a swimming pool near a waterfall. And here, everyone was simply enjoying themselves. At the same time, Cheyenne and Arata also arrive while watching all the sisters having fun. Arata says, it's been a long time since we came here. They're really enjoying it. Then Shin says, you're so lucky, all 6 of them must be looking at only you. Hearing this, Arata says, what are you saying? Shin says, don't act so innocent, you're always like this. Then we see Uka jumping off a rock, and then we see her and Cheyenne were talking. Uka says, I really enjoy jumping into water like this. Then Cheyenne jumps in and says, you're such a fool to enjoy things like this. Then Minami also calls Arata and says, come on, let's both jump from that rock. Arata agrees, and the 2 of them jump together. Meanwhile, Minami keeps looking at Arata. Then Banri calls everyone for lunch. Arata sees that Seiha was standing aside. He goes to her and asks, where's your top? She replies, it got twisted. Hearing that, he was shocked and embarrassed. Then he finds the top and gives it back to her. After that, they both return to the group and start talking. Finally, Banri, who hasn't swum for a long time, calls Arata to swim with her. While swimming, she falls on top of him and starts saying awkward things. Arata doesn't know what to do because their bodies were too close. He thinks, if I hadn't known we're not real siblings, I would have never felt this way. Then they go close to the waterfall, and Arata falls due to the water pressure. Banri says, sorry, but Arata says, didn't I tell you not to go near the waterfall? Then Banri asks, what will happen if I confess to you? But because of the sound of the waterfall, Arata doesn't hear her properly. From distance, Kotono sees them and feels jealous. Then Arata goes to the car to get something, and Kotono comes and asks, hey, I was going to the vending machine, will you come with me? He says, so you want me to come with you? She nods. While walking, Arata realizes she wants to say something but can't. They reach the vending machine and take drinks. Kotono tries to speak but can't, so Arata directly asks, what's the matter? She says, actually it's all my fault. I said something bad to Uka, which hurt her badly. That's why she decided to go to Mount Fuji. She continues, since childhood, nobody gave me responsibilities. They just told me to stay safe. One time I fell into water, and you saved me. Since then, I wished that if you weren't my brother, things could have been different. Arata was shocked and tries to calm her down. After that, they rejoin the group. Everyone says, you took so long. He replies, just had some vending machine problem. Then they all go to a nearby church where a light show was happening. It's their last day staying there. Arata walks away alone, thinking, I should talk to Uka. Maybe I just had a dream that she kissed me. Maybe it wasn't real. Probably just my imagination. Then he overhears Kotono, Minami, and Uka talking secretly. Kotono apologizes and says, I'm really sorry for all the pain I caused you. They forgive her, but then Kotono says seriously that she really likes Arata. Arata, hearing this, was totally shocked. Then Minami also says that she likes Arata too. She says, earlier I wasn't sure, but now I'm certain. Uka also says that she likes Arata. Then the 3 girls decide to have a healthy competition for Arata. No matter who Arata chooses, they'll still stay sisters. Meanwhile, Arata was totally stunned hearing all this. In the end, we see someone writing all of this in a notebook again, and that's how Shinju Family Children Season 1 ends.